The last big Season 3 content drop is here, with 2 weeks left, and there's a lot going on in this update. I'll link the full patch notes below as always. I'll just pick out what I think is the most impactful or interesting, highlight it in game, and give some thoughts. Multiplayer first, I'll reorganize their patch notes a bit to go by category. Of course, you got Hardhat, the MW3 map returning in a 24/7 playlist. It seems to be just how I remember it, with a couple added doors as usual. I didn't notice any new areas when comparing the minimaps. Maybe a couple nooks and crannies I'm not sure about being identical, but it's Hardhat alright. And then there's Aisle 9 for Gunfight, being Atlas Superstore themed, as we knew. It isn't just for Gunfight though. The cleanup on Aisle 9 playlist is a 3v3 respawn mosh pit. If you want some pretty fast-paced action, there's that. In my experience so far though, it's World League Finals with the amount of Obsidian MP5 drop-shotting, except played on a map with a layout even worse than Shipment, with annoying second-story head glitches and too many poor visibility places to get shot from. Also, Streaks and Specialist is disabled, because it's a gunfight map, and to top it off, very low game totals, like 40 kills for TDM. So I'm gonna say this is not a good grind map, despite the small size. It's more of a competitive face-off game mode. Interestingly, they added one in the chamber in custom games, but not as something you can queue for just yet. Speaking of party modes, they added care packages to regular infected to spice things up, and they did a ton of rebalancing to reinfected ground war. If you've been enjoying the insanity of that mode, there are some cool changes like removing the IAV and lowering Juggernaut health only for that mode, and several other changes there you can read through. Next, they listed a lot of weapon balancing. As a basic overview, big nerfs to the 3-round burst Renetti. The base weapon is relatively unaffected, still a great sidearm, but the burst was hit with some crappy hipfire, a small damage decrease, and even lower damage when used combined with akimbo. Very nice to see. Those were starting to become the next plague after the snake shots got hit with their nerf. Maybe the akimbo pistol meta will start to die down after this, but we'll see. The FAL and SCAR got buffs to their aim down sight time, which is nice. The SCAR more so than the FAL, which is good. Those were the two slower aiming ARs, good to see they're more competitive now. The VLK Rogue got some nice damage and fire rate buffs, it's looking pretty solid now. And the Holger got some big buffs across the board and to several of its attachments. Anyway, yes, I am rushing through those. I won't spend much time here, cause you should just be watching Ace for weapon details. He's got all the befores and afters to show a full breakdown. I did do some messing with the RPG though. This is a Warzone specific change, but I'll toss it in here. The RPG was supposedly nerfed in Warzone. They say the RPG kill radius for players with full armor was reduced. Hard to tell exactly what that means, and Warzone isn't easy to test on other people. Is it a flat blast radius reduction? If so, why did they say it like that? So does it only change how it interacts with armor, or do you need full armor to be protected? Well, I tried shooting myself a bit at 7.5 and 5 meters. It was only dealing 1 plate of damage, so maybe 25 damage down from 30 at the far reaches of its radius. Then when I went to get more ammo at the police station, I ran into someone using the RPG. How convenient. And I took a normal amount of damage from the first shot, made sure to plate up, but then, oh, alright. So you can get one shot with full armor, even when that was not a direct impact. It did hit the ground. So 175 damage, up from 150 before? Question mark? So was the RPG buffed here? Getting one shot from full armor like that is the bullshit I think should not be happening, and that could very well be a bug with this nerf, because absolutely nobody said, please make the RPG one-shot kill, it isn't strong enough. So hopefully that gets sorted out and the RPG catches a proper nerf. It is very annoying to die to such a skillful weapon being spammed in your general direction. Back to multiplayer though, a couple challenges they mentioned fixing: the buy armor bundles in Warzone Step for a Rodion mission, and apparently use Dead Silence in 3 different matches. I'm guessing that's a daily. Yeah, not much written in that category, so I don't know what's going on with stuff like ground war progression being buggy, and people's IAV kills apparently not counting for the ribbon. After the 1.20 update, I started getting tons of comments about that, as well as how the final officer emblem bugged out too. People weren't being awarded it after finishing all the challenges. Hopefully that's better now, or soon will be, but I got it before 1.20, so I don't know. It is animated now though. Who knows why it takes a random amount of time each season to animate the final emblem when all 5 seasons of emblems were leaked practically at launch, so it isn't like they're making them on the fly. Anyway, one last multiplayer thing you might be wondering about is what about those Modern Warfare 2 style weapon mastery calling cards? And yeah, I remember a while back Joel Emsley said they'd be coming after Gunsmith Customs and the new camo because the calling cards still needed more work, and his ballpark was to say Season 3 because he didn't know the timing. Not sure if they will be coming in Season 3 because there are only 2 weeks left now, but over on the COD Tracker website that sees what is added behind the scenes, they are all there, and they say that they are Season 3 loot. Maybe that's because Season 4 isn't here yet and that'll change, but no big deal either way, that's why he didn't want to give a time. I know how these things get pushed back, and Obsidian is there as a ridiculous weapon grind if you want something to grind. The Datamine is interesting though. We can see there are 4 styles of emblem and calling card for every single weapon, including DLC guns: Gold, Platinum, Damascus, and Obsidian. This does raise some questions and concerns, like, do you earn these just by having the camo? Well, that would seem kind of pointless. We already have the camo to show that off. And when you get Damascus, you just get given every gun's Damascus calling card and emblem? Hopefully they know that's not what most people are looking for. So are these just representing tiers of mastery for kills and headshots? I think that'd be nice. I've also seen the theories that some of the designs mean something, like Damascus could be headshot related with the skull there. Gold has some like hardpoint markers. It could be for objective play, like attacking and defending kills. Well, I don't know about that. Hopefully you don't need Joker headshots. So all we have is theories for now. But one very interesting thing is the weapon Grandmaster calling card, the first semblance of a mastery calling card in this game. So it looks like there is something for getting all of them, which is always what I care most about. So even if these are tied to camos, which I think will be a bit of a letdown, the one bright side is that this would be a reward for getting every Obsidian camo, which is insane for most people, but a reward like that currently doesn't exist, and it definitely should. So we'll see what comes of those. Maybe we see them in the next couple weeks. I did notice that they are in-game, not only the Datamine, but my total number of earnable emblems and calling cards has practically doubled. Before I was missing something like only 4 emblems and about 15 calling cards. Now I'm missing hundreds, and there are 48 weapons right now, times 4, so 196 new emblems and calling cards, which does line up perfectly with that increase. So they're totally here, but we gotta wait a bit longer. I wonder how they'll be presented, like where will you track your progress? It's making me go back to thinking it will be camo related after all, because there's got to be more than that little number of how many calling cards you're missing. The system isn't built in a way that is fun to be checking things off the list and unlocking everything. It's just a big mess of emblems and junk from dailies that you don't want. Often duplicate items you already have from dailies you already did, and it doesn't tell you. You can't reasonably get everything or know what you're missing, and there'd be no reason to try. And I think that could end up being a problem with these calling cards. Are they just going to be tossed into the mess that is this pile of emblems and cards? I think part of what made them fun to earn in Modern Warfare 2 was the organization and the fact that they had locked placeholders, so you could go through and fill out the pages. That's satisfying completion. You could see what you still needed to get. In this, the lack of organization really does take away from the fun of it, I think, and that's why I do what I do with the spreadsheets, but we'll see. Mainly, I hope that the calling cards are not based on camos, but do count retroactively based on combat record. Otherwise, I don't really see the point in adding them, and I'm just not gonna care. Maybe you'll get one for your favorite gun if it's a card you actually really want to use, but from a total mastery perspective, it would be too frustrating to start from scratch again at this point in the life cycle after already earning some obsidians. I totally expected the camo to not be retroactive, I understand that, but the calling cards 100% should be, or I'm just not going to be interested in them when I already have tons of kills with these weapons. Moving on to Warzone. Aside from that questionable RPG buff nerf, some cool stuff here. They've added the armor box. It's lootable and purchasable, replacing the shield turret in the buy station for 6,000 cash. It's just like the armor box seen in co-op, or basically a munitions box, except instead of ammo, it resupplies your entire team's armor. Very cool item. It can make sense to buy that over armor plates depending on how empty your team is, but more importantly, it's an item you can take with you into the late game to drop and resupply armor anytime, like if you've been getting in fights and there's no reachable buy station. Very big stuff there. If you get rich off contracts early, you can have a couple teammates carrying those with them, and you won't have to worry about running out of armor anymore. Most wanted contracts have also been re-added after their brief failed launch a while back. Thankfully this time they do not replace regular bounties, and the time was changed from 5 minutes you need to survive the whole server hunting you to 3. Much more reasonable. 5 minutes is an eternity in BR. 2 perfect changes, I think. So I do love this addition. It's a thing to do if you're dropping in alone. Maybe you were the only one to win the gulag, thinking, where do I land? I don't want to try to loot 12k of cash alone to bring everyone back. I should just kill myself so we can restart. Well, instead of doing that, you may as well fly to one of these contracts. I think they're a great addition to provide an interesting alternative to suicide in that scenario. There was also another cycling of ground loot. You'll be finding legendary SKS blueprints now, as well as some more of other guns, and the gulag loadouts have changed. I'm glad to be away from those magnums and shotgun duels. Now there's a list of 10 ARs and SMGs that'll be the new gulag loadouts. Cool, I'm down for a change there. Finally, for Warzone, at the bottom of the patch notes is this cryptic redacted message, obviously bunker sounding, and there were keycards added in 1.20 that did nothing, but now they do something. I have seen all the clips of people entering them, and in all the bunkers I've seen so far, you just use the keycard, and there are lots of loot boxes inside, and then a second locked door that may require another card or something else to open, so there is still more to this. I've also seen that some phones ring now, like this one in the airport tower that said 6 in Morse code. That led to Tuma interacting with several phones to seemingly get the code to enter Bunker 11, and there's some very unique stuff in there, like the rumored nuclear warhead, and a big shiny red button, and an MP7 blueprint that you unlock just by picking it up, to prove you were there. Pretty neat. There's also a discussion about how the redacted message in the patch notes could be hinting towards Treyarch's rumored Black Ops Cold War game. And it does make a lot of sense for us to see teasers for that in Warzone, since it is supposed to span multiple years of COD. So more stuff will be happening with those bunkers. It is evolving as we speak. So far, though, a pretty boring implementation, when there's all the hype with the computers and phones thinking there's something to figure out, when really we just needed a keycard that came in an update to get some regular loot. That is still a cool part of the game. It's fun that if you find a keycard, you can go to the nearest bunker and get a bunch of stuff, if you have that map knowledge of where the bunkers are. I do like that. It's just a bit of a letdown complexity-wise. But as I was saying, it isn't over. Big things are happening. Finally, we'll touch on co-op special operations, the bastard child I had so much hope for once upon a time. One of the first lines in the patch notes had me very interested. Modified special operations. Replay existing operations with a twist. Some enemies may charge more frequently, or maybe they can only be taken down with headshots. Check out new modified special operations and earn new rewards each week. Okay, cool. At least it would be if I could actually play them and show you what's going on. They aren't in the game for me. Apparently they might have only been in the PS4 update, but they didn't say anything about this being exclusive. So this might be a bug? Oh well, I'm really not heartbroken if I don't get this, but I do think that this is the first real addition to make this a mode worth playing. I know they added those co-op dailies back in 1.20, which is neat, but that's not at all interesting from the completionist standpoint I always come from, because it doesn't feel like you can earn them all, and the loot doesn't stand out on its own, it's all trash. Anyway, this is cool. Basically challenge modifiers placed on special operations to make them harder in exchange for weekly loot. And some pretty good loot by the look of it, not one of hundreds of geometric stickers or faces in a frame. The modifiers they have right now are things like more aggressive meleeing enemies and headshots only, and I can think of tons of other challenge modifiers like that. Class abilities are disabled, no attachments are allowed, riot shields are restricted, limited number of revives. Not that those are super fun, just some basic thoughts. So I think that's a cool idea. Now that the base difficulty has gotten quite low for these, they've gotten very easy over time. This seems like a fun way to add some optional challenge back. You might need to get a good team together and use your good co-op loadout to get this done, or even do the crosswind stealth mode to get through this on veteran difficulty. It's about to feel like launch again, except with working checkpoints and objective markers and reasonable juggernaut health. And this time you know it's supposed to be a challenge to get through it. That's a very important thing. That alone can make it fun instead of frustrating, because I know I'm supposed to party up and take it seriously when I see that veteran challenge, instead of at launch expecting that we'd be able to get through it with randoms and getting absolutely shit-rocked. Well, there's that. Cool stuff, if you ask me. We'll see if the loot stays good week after week, or how long they plan to keep that going, and if I'll be able to play it at all. Well, overall, cool update. Got some neat Warzone additions and changes, I think some positive weapon balancing, a nice array of fixes, and the game doesn't seem to be terribly broken because of them. At least, not clearly, right away. And I'm sure there may be some stuff left out of the patch notes, as always, because that's the annoying trend this year of stealth changes, but these were some pretty beefy patch notes, so maybe they got most of it this time. Time will tell. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.